Okay. Now, we have all been talking about gene gene therapy, stuff that is done with CRISPR and Cas9 that can actually remove pieces of chromosomes and put in other pieces and clip things out and insert things into people's genetic cells. And this is quite
Material.
exciting. Uh, Unfortunately, the drugs that enable us to do this kind of stuff, don't work as well in vivo, that is, in the person's body. It is much better if you can take the cells you're trying to change temporarily out of their body, make the changes, and then put them back in. And it turns out that this technique works beautifully with bone marrow. Um, you have probably heard about people being asked to donate bone marrow for relatives because the relatives have, some kind of ailment and, they are trying to help them out with transplanted bone marrow. They usually take it out of the hip bone because that is, a very big, easy to reach with a giant needle place. But it's quite unpleasant, both the donating and getting it back. It's painful. But as I say, the very first genetic disease that they have actually come up with a cure for is sickle cell anemia. And let's see. Okay. This is a hereditary disease. And in this country, it affects mostly people of African American heritage, people, some of whose ancestors came from
Hmm.
uh, Central Africa. Uh, it is also, it is quite common in areas in Central Africa where malaria is present. And the reason this happens is very oddball. The defect that causes sickle cell anemia, if you are homozygous, that is, you got it from both parents. You got it from both parents, you got sickle cell anemia, you're in trouble. But if you got this gene complex from only one parent, and the fancy word for that is heterozygous, it confers, it has no disadvantages, and it confers a significant immunity to malaria. So this gene complex has been conserved in populations who are exposed to malaria because if you get it from only one parent, uh, you're almost immune to malaria. And that's why it has stuck around, and not been eliminated. Um, but unfortunately, if you've got it from both parents, you are in trouble. And sickle cell anemia, the homozygous individual who has gotten this gene complex from both parents, it is a painful disease and it is life-threatening. Some people die in late childhood from it, if it's severe enough. But it's bad. And so, until recently, the best treatment for sickle cell anemia for these homozygous individuals has been bone marrow transplants from related donors. In other words, they'll try doing a bone marrow transplant from a parent or a sibling or, somebody who's got a lot of the immune factors in common. But in order to do this, you have to knock out the patient's own immune system. It's just like doing a transplant of an organ, because otherwise their immune system will attack the transplanted cells. And so it's just like having a transplanted kidney or a transplanted lung or a transplanted heart, for that matter. You are on immunosuppressive drugs for the rest of your life, and you're in a precarious situation. You are likely to catch some serious wandering disease that your non-existent immune system can't handle, and that kills you off. Okay, the new treatment that they have come up with using CRISPR and Cas9 essentially allow the patient to become their own donor. In other words, they remove the bone marrow from the patient. And it's, sitting out here in a, probably in a solution of CHO cells. And they use the genetic treatment to knock out the bad sickle cell complex and put in one that works well. So essentially, they set things up for a bone marrow transplant where the patient is their own donor. So there's no need for immunosuppressive drugs. They have just taken their own bone marrow that has all of their own immune factors and fix this one little piece in it. They put it back. And this treatment turns out to be long and complex and somewhat painful, with all of the getting the bone marrow out and then getting it back in. But it fixes it. You end up with totally people who no longer have sickle cell anemia. And I've got a couple of videos that show this pretty well. First of all, I should ask, are there any questions about this?
Carole,
The
how long
description so far. What?
How long does it take for the outside of the body transformation before they can put it back in?
Okay, the entire process takes, I believe, a couple of months. But I don't know how long that particular part takes. The descriptions I have seen just say that the entire process from start, that is removing your bone marrow, removing the patient's bone marrow, to finish, the patient's fixed bone marrow is back and operating. And it takes a while for the bone marrow is producing new blood cells. You know, that's what the bone marrow does. And so after you get the good stuff back in, the patient is getting along on his old blood cells until this actually has produced all new. So, you know, the process is lengthy.
But what I don't see, and what I'm not seeing, is the mechanical explanation for how injecting a small portion of correct bone cell material can all of a sudden take over and wipe out the rest of the body's not correct.
Okay, you after you have removed all the bone marrow that you need from the patient, you then sterilize their bone marrow. In other words, it is no longer producing.
Oh, so you're taking it all out and putting it back?
You're taking out as much as you can get, and then you get rid of what's in their body, essentially.
Okay.
And, you know, they're having to live in a germ-free environment while all this is going on.
Right. So for a while, they aren't producing new blood cells.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, although,
So,
I mean, there's timing involved here. You know, you're getting out, while you're getting out the bone marrow, this is done in several relays, you know, and what's left is producing the old bad stuff. And okay, sickle cell anemia does not, their bone marrow does not produce all bad cells. When they're just living there with sickle cell anemia, their bone marrow is producing some percentage of perfectly good working cells, or they would not be alive, because the oxygen would not be getting to their organs. But what happens is that it also produces some of these bad, deformed cells. And the bad, deformed cells get caught in the capillaries of, particularly of joints. And they just block it to where, you know, nothing will go there.
Mm.
And so it leads to deterioration of your organs and a lot of pain. Am I making sense there?
Yeah.
But they're
Well,
in their original state, where they have sickle cell anemia, their bone marrow is producing predominantly good cells. You know, the kind of a donut-like red blood cell that's getting oxygen to their body. But a certain percentage of the cells that it produces are the sickle cells, and they create blockages. Does that make it more clear?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Tom?
what exactly is the change? Do they change the DNA from homozygous to heterozygous, or do they totally eliminate that gene variation, or do you know what it
My
is that?
understanding is that they totally eliminate the variation. That they are no longer, they're no longer homozygous or heterozygous.
So they're not, okay, they don't have the sickle cell gene in them at all. And yet they're still able to reproduce red blood cells.
Oh, yes, because
Okay.
normal people who don't have either, who are neither hetero nor homozygous for this,
Right. Okay.
produce good blood cells. I think the video has some nice little pictures in it, which might help a little bit. Let's see, H. Tom?
Yeah, you remove some of the blood bone marrow, sort it into good and bad, make duplicates
Well,
of
you
the
don't
good.
sort it into good and bad because
Oh,
um, the bone marrow is producing good and bad cells, but you can't.
oh, okay. We'll watch the video. Maybe that'll answer my question.
Oh, okay. The
Misunderstood the process they were using.
okay.
I think all the cells have the sickle cell variant in them.
Yes, for anyone who has sickle cell anemia, who is homozygous for this, got it from both parents, they have bone marrow that is producing both good red blood cells and bad red blood cells. And there's no way to sort out the bad cells. You have to fix the bone marrow so it doesn't produce bad cells. And that's done with CRISPR and Cas9, with actual manipulation of the genes of the extracted bone marrow. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Tom, is your hand still up for a reason?
Yeah, no, I should take it.
Okay. Anybody else with questions before we do the video, which I think will help a little bit?
I was guessing that might answer my question, so I took my hand back.
Carole, I
Okay.
need you to stop sharing before I can share the video.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
This is a really, really weird disease. It is.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
This can cure people who have sickle cell anemia, but from what I can understand, it does not affect their reproductive cells, so that even though they've been cured, they could still pass the trait on to children. Is that true?
I believe that is true. If they were to, but
So it's not a way to eliminate the disease, it's the way to cure people one at a time.
yes, and it's damned lengthy, complicated, and expensive, which the next video, the next thing we're going to look at is looking at possibly something cheaper. But yes, but what I am suggesting is if a person is knowledgeable enough,
Correct.
you know, if they have actually gone through this cure, then they would presumably be knowledgeable enough not to mate with another person. You can test to
Yeah.
see if these people are, if the person you're going to marry, breed with, whatever, if they are heterozygous for this, then half your kids would be in
Yeah.
trouble
Yeah, and it's
because you're
actually,
going to pass on the bad gene no matter what. You've got two of them.
yeah, but it's actually apparently advantageous to be heterozygous for sickle cell because it prevents malaria and that type of thing.
Yes, it's advantageous if you live in a malaria zone, which is why the gene has been conserved as well as it has. But we now have treatment for malaria. I mean, this is the reason that so very many of the, you know, back in the 1700s and 1800s, the Caucasian people who went to malaria zones, damn near all of them died because they did not have this background of the heterozygous immunity, whereas the native population did. But now, you know, once we came up with quinine and then other cures for malaria, it's not so important.
Tom.
Oh, you answered it along the way.
Oh, I'm glad. Anybody else with questions?
Nope.
Okay, then we are going to look, and this is brand new. This literally came out after I had started this project. I think it came out in February of 26. And this is a suggestion for a cheaper cure. One that could be a public health thing rather than a really expensive individual treatment. And so, Stan, I would like to, you know, that article that we were having the trouble finding,
Yeah.
I would like you to put that up now and let us just read it. I could not find a video that described this because it was so new, but yeah, there we go. Now, maybe you'd want to make that bigger.
I don't think he can.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, like that.
yeah. And whoops, then we can just read. I don't know, would you like me to read it to you?
No, thanks.
Okay, just let me know when, or let Stan know when it's time to.
Don't make it too big because we'll read it in 1 second and then you'll have to page down again. Is this too slow for most people?
Okay, stop it there. I'm reading.
Okay, so question. Keeping these fetal cells going, rather than having them mature into cells that will produce the sickle cells, does that mean they're affecting the messenger RNA to do that? So that the sickle cell version of the gene does not get expressed?
I don't know. All I really know about it is what I got out of this article, which I just read very recently. If you looked at it, I think it was dated sometime this month. So it's extremely new. And all I know about it was what I read in that article, which I found, just as I was cleaning up this presentation to talk about the other cure. But
It sounds likely.
it sounds like they are just changing the genetics of the fact that the body changes over from making its cells one way to making it in the adult way. And there must be some advantage to doing it the adult way, or it would not have developed.
Yeah,
Presumably, the advantage would not be so great that it would still be better than having sickle cell anemia. And that's why they're just going to be starting human trials.
Okay, this sounds more promising to me that it could actually kind of,
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily eliminate the disease. People will still have the gene, but it sounds like if they keep these cells in a fetal state, probably by using messenger RNA, then that individual will be okay.
yeah. As I say,
Uh,
this information showed up after I had created most of this presentation, and I just said, "Oh my, let's include that."
It sounds a
And
lot easier than taking out cells, modifying them,
oh
killing all the
yeah, I
others,
mean,
putting them
yeah.
back.
you're talking about taking the patient out of circulation for at least a
Yeah.
couple months, and you're talking about
Very painful therapy too.
painful therapy and $1 million costs, you know. But I
It's,
mean, the fact that you can do it at all is an incredible breakthrough. And
All sorts of.
let's see, H.
Tom is next.
Why? All sorts of questions come up. Why does the body change from one type of blood cell to the other type of blood cell? What are the long-term consequences of not doing that?
And
Um,
again, I don't know.
yeah, I'm
Literally, all I
there's
know
all
about that
sorts of questions.
is what
All
I saw in
sorts
that
of
article.
all
And
sorts of
they're just getting
questions.
started with human trials.
Not being a parent, the first question that comes to mind, do babies clot differently than non-babies if they're cut?
Well,
I don't know. I just
They still must clot. I mean, look what happens when the umbilical cord is cut, you know.
yeah,
yeah, but I
good
mean,
point.
you have the very complex problem that during a pregnancy, it is very common for the child to have a different blood type than the mother.
Hmm.
And so there are all sorts of accommodations that make that possible. And I imagine this fetal blood cell production has something to do with that. That it's an adaptation to allowing successful pregnancies when the mother and the fetus don't have the same blood type.
Universally compatible.
Yeah?
This might be a way. If that's true, this would be a way to end the blood shortage.
Well, I mean, there's all.
If you could make fetal blood in a lab, you wouldn't have to type it.
Yeah.
If
I'm
big if.
again, I'm not sure of that.
Yeah.
I know by the time the child is born, there can be issues. When my son was born, I'm type O and he's type A. And the people at the hospital had him under a sun lamp for 2 or 3 days, in his little
Mm-hmm.
incubator to treat this AO incompatibility, they said. So there can be issues with the mother and the child having different blood types, but it seems to be easily fixable. At least from personal experience. And there is a blood type that is a universal donor. What, O negative?
That's me.
Yep.
What?
Oh, yeah. O negative.
Yeah. Now, I'm O positive, which is, really peasant blood. I think the majority of people, O positive is the most common type of blood. But O negative is already used in emergencies for, when the blood bank runs out of whatever you've got. But there are complications. It's not as, getting O negative is not quite as good as getting, whatever you
No,
really
yeah.
are.
Carol,
Yeah,
one question I had, that article said that this affects low and middle income people, which is there some external factors that play into this? I mean, do high income people not have this problem? I wondered when that article said that, it made a big, point at one part to say that. And I was like, that's
well,
strange. There must be something else that affects this, I wonder.
no, but think about the fact that statistically speaking, in America, people of Black heritage have lower incomes statistically than people of Caucasian heritage. I mean, would everybody agree that this is true?
In general, yeah.
And I think that's all he was referring to.
Okay. So, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with environment or diet or anything else. It's strictly genetic.
As far as I can tell.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
And again, countries in tropical Africa tend to be low-income countries.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to get the majority of these cases.
So it's a correlation, not a causation.
I would guess. I mean, I'm having to guess, but I think that would be the case. That
Okay, thank you.
Dan,
yeah,
Carol, I'm starting to do a deep dive for myself into the biome and the gut-brain connection and so forth. Now, what you've been presenting so far has been pretty much a story about genetic research and genetics and so on, CRISPR, Cas9, all
yes.
features of the genetic worldview. Are there any of these other aspects of the development of new treatments affected by the biome as well as the genetics?
You mean the gut biome?
Bacteria.
Gut bacteria.
Well,
yes, that's what
bacteria
it
in
is.
general.
If there are, I don't know. How's that? I
Yeah.
never found any reference to it in all of the research I did for this.
Well, when someone's pointing a infrared lamp on a newborn, that seems to me like they're trying to prevent some kind of bacterial condition.
I'm not sure this was infrared. I think it may be ultraviolet.
Okay, well, even then, Was that for a bacterial condition or for a,
It might be just to produce a lot of vitamin D. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking what, 40 some years ago when I was having children. And, it was just, they said, don't worry, there's nothing really wrong with the kid, just a little bit of AO incompatibility, and the sun lamp will take care of it.
right?
The only thing I know that is helped by sunlight is vitamin D. So, but I'm guessing Oliver Hallenbeck,
David,
Yeah, that was kind of what my first reaction to hearing the process to treat sickle cell anemia, sterilizing or taking a sample of the bone marrow that produces the blood cells, changing it, killing all of the bone marrow that's functional and putting it back while avoiding any possibility of infection
Yep.
is never going to be a cheap, quick, easy fix. The idea that you can change cells into stem cells, take them back to the condition where they can develop into the various different cells that make up your functional body, has been cutting edge research in understanding cellular development.
Yeah. I mean, why?
Clearly, this involves expressing genes and gene expression
Yes.
in the way a complicated cellular organism develops from a single stem cell or a single fertilized sperm and ova.
Ovum is what you want, a fertilized
Thank
ovum.
you. Yes. Um, but
Zygote?
that basically depends on chemical signals in the body
Yep.
and turning them off and on. This is essentially saying this genetic person has a problem with the way it developed. And if we stopped it developing at the early age, it won't the person won't develop the problem. And so it's a very neat solution to say, let's just not turn on that switch or turn it back off.
Well, but this is a switch that works for bone marrow, blood cells. It's
Mhm.
not a switch that works for everything or even
No,
anything else.
but you can expect that the survival of humans with this change at 6 months from early blood to a different form, a different gene expression,
Mhm.
had evolutionary advantages. We
Yes.
all have that switch. So as they develop and explore this, we can expect to see some side effects that
Yes.
are a disadvantage.
The
Now,
the
whether
the
they're enough that we would like to save $1 million per intervention and only spend 100th of that or $10,000 so that we could apply this particular solution across a much larger population.
Yes,
It's
I
going
think the
to,
phrase they used was to make it a public health thing, like
absolutely.
vaccination, as
Mhm.
Yeah.
opposed to a highly specialized
Yep.
and
And
costly.
risky because it has to be done. You have to essentially kill the person's immune
Yep.
system while you're processing this 3-month process. So there are significant risks to going through this expensive process.
Oh, God, yes.
So the
And
potential of this particular switch is likely to be applied when it can be to avoid the risk and expense of the other solution. We aren't, it's going to take some time and effort to explore to see what the side effects are
yes,
of
they
this
haven't done
particular
human
switch.
trials yet.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly. But we can expect that there will be some side effects
yes,
just because evolutionarily, we all have that switch.
yes. And obviously the purpose of human trials is to figure out whether you're better off
Yep,
with the complications of this than you are with having full-blown sickle cell anemia.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're at the very hopeful stage, but for God's sake, you know, it just hit the news this month.
Yeah, yeah.
They haven't done human trials yet. It
Hey,
wasn't
Doug, you're
even,
next.
this was not going to be included in my original um,
Presentation.
presentation. I just found it while I was looking for another video.
Hey,
And
Doug, do you have a question?
Yeah, Carol, I just wanted to get back to you as a follow-up to that question I asked. I just asked AI and I said, does diet affect SCA? And it says, yes, diet significantly affects sickle cell anemia. So there is something that is involved that is beyond the genetic side of it, sounds like.
well,
So
what does it say? I mean,
management by reducing pain crisis, supporting growth in children, and preventing nutrient deficiencies. A healthy diet, proper hydration, and specific nutrients help manage the red blood cell turnover and chronic inflammation associated with the disease. So anyway, and maybe I was thinking, it looked very obvious. It was, yeah, there is some outside effect, but maybe this is once you're diagnosed with it, then, helping deal with it. This is
okay.
the answer. So anyway, answer my own question.
Yeah, not a
I mean,
curable
that's very
therapy.
interesting to know.
Yeah.
H-Tom.
Yeah, this is a topic for someone else to do. The we all know that there are 4 blood types: A, B, AB, and O, each of which is plus or minus. For 99 people out of 100, maybe more than that, 99, ain't so. Some people aren't any of those. They have very small number of people, a couple of thousand in the world, have other blood types. One of these is called the golden blood type. It is usable for anyone, including people with these exotic blood types. it has none of the little spiky things that blood cells have sticking out
In
that
other
make
words,
them
it's
A.
better than O negative
Yep,
as a
there.
universal donor.
Yep, there are. Last I saw this first because one of the 53 people known to have this had died,
Okay.
and governments are keeping track of them apparently to have them to do transfusions to people who, I don't know, why do governments do things?
Or
But it's more
political.
complicated than ABO,
Yeah.
and when this golden type develops and how it develops, all sorts of research needs to be done.
I wonder how far, do you know how far back our knowledge of that goes? Did we know about
I
it
believe,
in 1980?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Because I
I
was,
have seen no mention of it. I first heard about this about 4 months ago
ah,
when I was taught when I was donating and was talking about different blood types, and the doctor overheard this and said, "You know, there are other blood types." And both the nurse and I looked at him and said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, it's not just those 8.
I
There
have
are
heard,
others."
I have
So then
heard
I
them.
got home, I looked it up, and weird.
But I will now throw in the reason I asked if we knew about it back in 1980. I will now throw in the obligatory science fiction reference in that Robert Heinlein, in his later years, got very, very, very involved in
Mm-hmm.
the research on blood type and very involved in like writing articles for encyclopedias about blood types and in working to change the American system of recruiting volunteer blood donors. And this happened because he had a rather rare blood type. I think he was AB negative. And his life was saved by, 6 transfusions at one time from people who had this very rare blood type. So he got involved and did all kinds of work. I mean, you can still find most big science fiction conventions have a blood drive associated
Mm-hmm.
with uh you know some of the work he did. So, that's a reference there for
Yep.
uh,
Anyway,
You
if
get
you
back
want
on
more,
the
just
science.
Google 5th blood type, and the AI will give you all sorts of links and pointers. And
yeah.
Or if you Google golden blood, the AI will tell you it's Rh null,
yeah,
common to about 1 in 6 million people and discovered in 1961.
So wait a minute. This means that Rh negative is a thing, not just an absence of something.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I had always thought that Rh positive and negative were just a thing and the absence of that. And you're saying that ain't true.
No, there are 5 or 7 things involved,
Yeah.
and RH null has none of them.
Wow.
Some combinations are called positive, and some combinations are called negative. And there's another one called Bombay blood,
Yep.
which is some other weird.
This sounds like a future, how would you like to do a presentation on blood types and everything we know? Because you're getting into stuff I was unaware of. Hello?
I think she was asking you, Tom.
Well, next week I'm presenting on the future of mental health care. So in a couple months,
Yeah, would you
I'll
willing,
do the
would you be willing
future
to
of
do
blood
your
types.
next one on that?
One after that, the future of blood typing.
Yeah,
It's really in the past. I mean, it happens. You just detect it, and there's no future in it. Oh, maybe there is.
Well, the
of course,
future
if you
is
could
how
get
will
in,
we handle transfusions in
Oh.
the future?
Cloning these non-immune attack generating blood types when universal cloning it synthetically in vitro, mass cloning in vitro of universal donor cells would be the future, I think. And there is a lot of work on that, but
yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't know enough to.
I was always thinking we would have to wait for synthetic blood
Yeah.
to
Work
have
on
a
that.
universal donor type. But it sounds like you could genetically finagle things to produce this en masse.
Yeah.
Yeah, genetics is a lot more complicated than most people think.
Oh, yes.
And I hate to
Yeah,
talk
well,
about it.
male, female. I mean, everyone isn't just XX or XY. I mean, 1 in 600 males, I think, are XXY. And the way those genes get expressed is different in everybody too. So this
One
idea,
in 300.
300, okay. So this idea of people are only a certain kind of male or a certain kind of female is just
There's women who are triple X.
yeah.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah, so
there's men who are
they're real people.
XYY. There are.
Mm-hmm.
So but we're getting a little off topic. We probably should get back to
Yeah.
what you.
Not really. We're talking about genetics.
I think we're ready for the next whatever you have.
Next, yeah.
Okay. Now, the next bit that I have is going to be on looking for cures for AIDS. What for HIV? What's the official designation now? HIV/AIDS or?
Doesn't matter. We know what you
Okay.
mean.
But I have quite a bit of material on they are looking at the notion of genetic cures for people who have AIDS and using gene therapy to produce a vaccine. It has been remarkably difficult to come up with a really effective AIDS vaccine. So the next bit on this is going to be several articles. And I apologize for the fact that I was not able to find any videos here, but I got sick last week and was busy throwing up when I should have been working on this presentation. So you're just going to get some articles. Ah, look, he has already come up with the first one. Thank you, Stan. Yes. Now, almost all of the research that is done on AIDS starts with an actually synthetically created virus, which is called SIV, and that is simian immunodeficiency, virus, I guess. And it is a virus that has been engineered to, as far as possible, act just like AIDS does in humans, just like HIV does in humans, but in monkeys. Because monkeys don't get HIV, and we don't have a test animal. And I mean, none of the standard test animals, mice, guinea pigs, all that stuff, get anything akin to HIV. So they have come up with this engineered simian immunodeficiency virus that will infect various types of monkeys very similarly to the way HIV infects people, so that they can do their first is this a good idea, or is this a blind alley? Tests on living critters who are not people. And so you guys can just read this.
So it looks like they've created a vaccine for SIV.
Yes.
Now, I seem to remember reading at some point that HIV kind of developed from SIV.
Wow, David Baltimore's still around, huh?
Uh,
Yeah.
well, now, I do understand that there was a somewhat similar virus in the wild that infected some kinds of, do I want to say primates? Or are primates just the ones without tails? I'm not sure. But I understand that the SIV that they use for testing has been genetically engineered to act as much like HIV in humans as possible. Ah, yeah. Anyway, you can just go on and read this. I think this one is for a preventative? No, this is for a cure. And I have another one about for developing a vaccine. Okay. And let's see. So, yes, this is the one about vaccines. And you can see that most of these involve some sort of genetic finagling. Mhm.
I can't see it.
Can you see this, David?
Yeah.
No,
And,
I
and
can't.
this,
I was trying to read the um,
Yeah.
fine print on the search bar.
yeah. This talks about the fact that one of the problems with HIV is that there are a hell of a lot of different strains of it. And trying to come up with something that will be preventive all over, I mean, you don't know which strain of HIV your person is going to get exposed to.
So this method does not kill the viruses, it prevents them from invading the cells.
Yes. This is actually a combination of things from the monkeys who have gotten over stuff and from
So if the virus can't invade cells, it can't reproduce, supposedly,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
then would eventually die out within a person's body.
I'm going to put Carol's file into the chat. I put it, Carol, I took all your links and put them into a Word file.
Okay.
Post that to the chat. Remember that if you want that, saving the chat won't get that. You have to download the file individually.
Wait a minute.
I haven't done it yet.
Oh, you haven't done it yet.
Oh, it's that I can't send it because the file is open. Duh. All right. Sorry about
These
that.
computers were as smart as we think they are.
Well,
What-
maybe when we get brain-computer interfaces, they'll know what we're really thinking.
Or agentic AI, which is talked about, but still not here.
Well, that's an interesting question. There is when you're talking about like computer interfaces or telepathy or something like that, the question is always, is there any thinking other than in language?
I
In
answer
other
would
words,
be yes.
if you hooked a human up to a computer and you're saying that the computer would know what you were thinking, would the computer know what a Frenchman was thinking? Or would it have to learn French?
Language is an imperfect way to communicate what we're thinking. It's not the thinking.
I would tend
It
to,
affects how we think, though, because how we think has a sociological aspect.
yes.
All kinds of
What are
animals
we
have
talking
complex
about?
behavior that don't
Sapir-Whorf?
affect
Yeah, the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis?
language.
Tom has disappeared.
There's a fine line, and it isn't the line, it's a gradation between text and words, text and pictures. Or text.
What? Text and pictures, okay. Tom, are you familiar with the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis?
No,
Oh, well, that's essentially the one that says that how you think is very much determined by the language you're speaking.
yeah, I'm familiar with that concept.
Yeah.
Um, and
Maybe we should get back on our topic, though.
okay. So where were we? Stan was going to put this stuff into
It's in the chat now.
okay, where it says Carol A.
Great. Just ask to download that, and it will. But like I said, you can save the chat as a separate operation, but saving the chat does not catch these files.
Okay, now wait a minute.
Well, you already have it, Carol. You don't need
Oh,
it.
yes, I know I already have it, but I'm just trying to figure out how it works. Now, when I click on this,
It
it
should
brings up over here.
a down arrow. Are you on a PC?
Yeah, it brings up a docs file.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I took all that information out of your email and put it into a doc file, a docx file.
Okay,
That's what I do. That's my process.
so if I hit save on that, I have now saved. I have
Yeah,
saved the docs file.
you might want to look at your downloads directory on your computer to see if it came through.
Okay, let's see. I have this funny feeling it's going to show up in my pictures. Um, hmm,
It shouldn't.
I'm going to go on to your next article, Carol.
okay, that would be a good thing.
I think this
But
is
then
this is
is
the
that
last one.
article already included in the docs file?
Yeah.
Okay. But we should at least look at it to see, yes, this is talking about a single dose treatment as opposed to these things that have to be taken every day.
So that's the title. A novel treatment slashes HIV up to 10,000-fold in monkeys with just a single dose.
Oh yeah, Shelley Fan is a very good, excellent writer on neurological topics.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there is a lot of work going on to come up with an HIV cure or, well, no, and or a serious preventive vaccine. My understanding is that there are a very few people who have shown up an almost complete immunity to HIV. But I don't know if any studies are being done on these people. Anybody have any questions there? And again, almost all of these treatments involve some sort of genetic manipulation.
Yes, my question would be is if this research is getting any government funding, is that going to continue?
Well, my understanding is that the current administration is cutting back on a lot of government research funding
And they seem to be anti-vaccination also, so.
to the extent that people are worried about a brain drain of American researchers moving to countries that are still supporting them. So it's hard to say. But I would not. I would think we would have to wait for a change of administration to get back to government support of this type of research. Well, that's what I have got. Do we have any more questions or discussions on this? I think we have 15 more minutes of.
Available time.
Do we, does our prohibition against talking politics extend to talking about support for research?
Well, I'd like to keep any of our discussion future-based, you know, what is possible, what could happen in the future.
Well, I mean, certainly. Okay, if the next election gives us a similar attitude toward government support of research, that's going to be looking at one future. Whereas if the next administration goes back to previous levels of government support of research, that gives us a different type of future. And certainly, if we have a significant loss of researchers from this country moving to other English-speaking countries that are willing to support their research, that also affects the future.
The other English-speaking countries are on the ropes. I don't think they're going to have money to.
It's happening now. We're losing not only graduate students, but established researchers.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Tom?
We are losing some established researchers, and we're losing a lot of graduate students. We're not even letting them come here.
Oh, you mean graduate students from other countries coming here?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking of graduate students from here following their researcher to, I don't know, England,
England's
New
gone.
Zealand, Canada.
Canada's gone, pretty much gone.
What do you mean by gone?
Just approaching the failed state status.
As are we.
Well,
Canada is approaching a failed state.
I don't want to go.
I mean, you're talking about what's his name? Chomsky's definition of a failed state?
I don't want to get into it. You won't accept it, so that's no point. I'll just say Alberta and Saskatchewan are seriously working at seceding. Does that give you an idea how bad they are off there? Because they're parasitized by Quebec and other.
Well, I can't help but think about several occasions, Michio Kaku, for example. I'm sorry, David, go ahead. Oh, David?
We have in this country a number of research institutions that have been funded by government in universities. Big, successful research institutions. We're in the process of dismantling those, it appears. And it also appears that the expense involved in going to a big research institution may not be a good investment for students in terms of being able to obtain good jobs based on those academic credentials. There has been a significant question of whether there are enough good students based on the US population to support the institutions we've created. And the likelihood is that with our attitude toward foreign exchange students coming here, that is, if we don't want them, this is going to entail a significant change in our higher education system. In other words, if you take it apart, how long is it going to take to put it back together again? Some of these
You
changes
can't.
may be impossible to resurrect.
Apparently Eric Hand didn't want to hear this.
Yep.
So you're
Well,
talking like places like UCal Berkeley for physics and
Yeah, Stanford, MIT, whatever.
well, the big names for medical research, I guess you could do a quick check with AI and see who has a excellent reputation.
Well, Demise Habasis, to Jeffrey Hinton, you can, or Andrew Carparthy, Elias Guskover.
you're talking individual researchers?
AI types.
Oh, okay.
But
Where is
what I was going to say earlier is that I've seen on several occasions Michio describing the tendency within authoritative administrations to turn a blind eye towards science and research, and that is the doomsday of the economy. He's very much concerned about that possibility happening, and that if it weren't for the cutting edge research of science, blue sky science, the idea of getting technologies that can make a difference in terms of medical research or whatever you want to do, that much more impossible, more unlikely. So I think that the only thing that I'm noticing within the existing administration is that seems to be only one technology that I see them going full force on is AI. And they're actually ramping that up at a stunning rate, to the extent to which they're going. I've seen figures and discussions about AI taking up close to 20% of the energy needs in the world.
Yeah, that's the problem with AI. I mean,
Well,
it's an environmental disaster.
Go ahead, Tom.
This is not something new. This is an old problem. I'm not sure when it started, but I can illustrate it by 20 years ago. I was working at the University of Minnesota as a math tutor, and a bunch of PhD candidates in business were sent to me because they lacked math skills. These people were PhD tracked anyway. They didn't have them yet, but they were already had masters in business. After some testing, I went out to eBay and over the course of a couple of weeks found a half a dozen, and I think I ended up with 9 copies of my 7th grade algebra book.
God, you're
This
talking to an old math teacher here.
This defeated them, and we just went through from page 1. They had gotten to have a master's degree without being able to do 7th grade math. And this was 20 years ago, and I haven't seen any sign that it's getting any better.
The state of mathematical education in the U.S. is pathetic. Yeah, and it starts in grade school.
Yeah.
They're taught that math is hard, and so they take that attitude.
Yeah,
And
It's more than that. Grade school teachers,
They
by
can't
and
do
large,
math.
are people who hate math.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so if math comes between reading and history, reading goes long and history starts early. And yeah, I mean,
Another,
I
Well,
used to get these kids in 7th and 8th and 9th grade that had been ruined by primary school.
modern math.
let me come at this from a different angle. I want to come at this from a different angle. In the early years of Disney, when they were doing really good stories and really good animation,
Mm-hmm.
they had a very good crew of cell animators, the nine old men and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Happened after they did Beauty and the Beast and then The Lion King is that there was a change in attitude where the managers of the stories were more concerned about merchandising and marketing than they were about storytelling and the art of animation. And so the idea that you had to be bottom line shareholder, beholding to bottom line shareholders rather than to cutting edge storytelling took over. And then of course Pixar came along and so forth, and that's a different story. What I wanted to say is bottom line is if you have an art form that starts to become commercialized, even in the music industry, I saw a very recent discussion with Rick Beato talking to a songwriter, and he said that you can go ahead and work with the record companies if you want to, or you can start your own label. But if you start your own label, then you got to worry about going public, and then you've got shareholders involved as well. So there's this whole art to business situation. That gradation is kind of weird.